Dear friends, as I really should address you, because you are friends. You are a tiny bunch of wonderful people who are putting up with my bizarre machinations and my weird thoughts at strange times of the evening. Because that's when I think of my best things. Does this look any good? Alright, let's make this look good for you. Alright, here's the technical part. Welcome to Tonight with Todd on the Todd Broadcasting Network. Okay, I need to make this video for 100,000 reasons. The wonderful, great Pierre Gustafson, who would blanch at hearing me say such things, and he should, because he's good. All right, people who really need that kind of motivation. Oh, well, look at me, I'm so wonderful. Are really not that interesting and not worth caring about. He's not like that. He's a real artist. He's the weird part of me that I should have been had I pursued my art more thoughtfully and more sincerely over the years. And I almost did. Anyway, we did a video tonight which was mostly trying to compensate for the limitations of our potential brilliance with our technology today. And it wasn't what it should have been. No, it wasn't. It should have been something a little closer to this. I'm going to go a little weird and honest and wax rhapsodic. Yes, that's something you said, Pierre, and you're right. And I will link to his channel at some point because I have to. He's a friend. He's my doppelganger, my spiritual doppelganger in some way. I think he's doing great work. He's doing exactly what I want to do. As a person using these old, look at these things, these old pens. Anyway, so what am I talking about right now? This is a Waterman's 55, fairly big pen, not huge, but, you know, pretty cool. Pretty comfy at the time, right? And even now, made in about 1918. This is an old one. Let me see if I can get this thing really close and get the focus in for you. Let's try it. I'm bouncing on the damn thing. Whatever. Anyway, it's old. It's from 1918 roughly. It's an early model. It's big, but not too. I'm not a big man. I am not a big person. But I have to say it. These are wonderful pens, and they're really comfy. I share this with you for a couple of reasons. Right now, that is. I share with you the pen right now because it's one of the few pens that I have actually shared with random people, even my mom, who hates old stuff, apparently. But even she said this was her favorite pen to use. And I shared this with a handful of people who use these things from time to time. And they all love it, and I love it. And earlier today, it was impossibly hot and humid. It was an embarrassment. It was a moment of technical difficulty stretched out for the better part of 28 minutes or so. And that's wrong. That's not what we should have. What we should have is something cogent and interesting and meaningful. And we're going to do that for you with this thing. Anyway, so here's an ancient pen from, oh good grief, 100 years ago. This thing's really damn old. And it was spewing ink earlier because it was so hot and humid in this environment. If anybody says to you that global warming is not a reality, they're not dealing with reality because this stuff was not made to deal with this crap. But anyway, this thing is stunning and it has great flow. And everybody loves it. It's big, but it's comfy and not too big. And let me get into a more conducive position for actually writing something. Here's hoping it looks like something as I write it. Pierre will hate this. He's, oh my God, what are you doing? But it's how I write. What can I tell you? You think I'm nuts. But what a great pen. What a great pen. It's remarkable. It's from about 1918. It's a Waterman's 55. The early imprint on the, whatever the hell it is, the clip here. You've got to see this clip. All right. Can you see it? Is that better? No, let's try that. Does that work for you? Yeah, that's really unimpressive. Anyhow, it's cool as hell. And I had to start with this pen because it's so darn juicy. It is so... Thank you. Good God. It's very, very wet. It's fantastic. And it's going to take like 15 minutes for this thing to dry. I'm not joking. It's 1,000,000 degrees. It's Hartford. It's the southernmost state of New England. It's its own little ecosystem. It's very strange. We have many of them. Anyway, so I'll move on to something ridiculous now. This is crazy. I spent a fortune on this damn pen. And for good reason. And by the way, I just want to say for a second here, like, why I bother with this stuff and why I ever gave a damn in the first place. I was 16 years old in 1983, and I loved the style of the times. But after having been introduced to some wonderful people in 1978 at age 11, Mr. and Mrs. Lamb, my adopted grandparents, or adopted grandparents, parents? It's plural. Anyway, you get the idea. I realized that these were some remarkable human beings who had every bit of their good humor and curiosity as children, but they had the benefit of knowing better and having lived in a time that, was 50 years way before I was even born. The stuff I never even thought about. And, try to zoom in on this damn thing. I loved what they were saying. They were hilarious and smart and curious and had every bit of energy that they ever had when they were younger. And it started me on a path. And by the time I was 16 in 1983, I realized, the stuff that they're trying to foist on us is garbage. It looked cool, right? It was synth pop and it was new wave. Everybody had crazy hair and cool fashions, and they were sexually ambiguous. Is that a man or a woman? I don't know, but you're sexy. I love it. And AIDS was a nightmare, and Reagan was, horrible, by the way. The great communicator. Let's get that straight. He was terrible. He screwed everything up. He destroyed the Fairness Doctrine, which screwed up our political process. But anyway, that's another topic. Anyhow, I couldn't believe in a damn thing in the 1980s, in the early 1980s. And then I started reading these Saturday evening posts from the 19-teens, 1917, 1915, 1912. That whole area. And National Geographics from the 20s that were talking about how damn great Parker Duofolds were. And their $7 expensive pens were guaranteed for life and forever. They're permanent barrels and all that, garbage. Except it was right. That's the thing that's crazy. Anyway, so here's this ancient fountain pen from 1925. Right? This is a, what is this? Can you see? Is that good? Is that focused? All right. This thing is nuts. This is a great pen. This is a 552 and a half LEC. Now that's pretty specific. And it was $37 freaking dollars. $37 in 1925, which is nuts. Okay, I mean, I work for a nonprofit in sales. Okay, that's a triple whammy of poverty. And this pen is crazy. I spent a lot of money on this pen. And believe me, my budget is blown. Pierre, I want to buy a pen from you. It's got to be 50 or 60 bucks, 65 at the most. I can't afford it otherwise. But this thing is a monster. I mean, it's an absolute monster. I mean, the design of it, it's made like a dream. I mean, new fountain pens to me are like new horses and buggies. I've got to say that. I've said it a million times. I just don't get it. To me, it's about the history, the possibility, paths not taken. You know, things that could have been better pursued but weren't. Because we got greedy. We got stupid and greedy with our capitalism. Capitalism is useful to a point. It's partly right, but only partly. It's got to be regulated. I mean, yeah, God, people are stupid. Anyway, very stable genius. Thank you, Pierre. You're right. Anyway, so here's another one. Here's another ancient pen. How old is this thing? All right, this is from 1926 or so. 1926, 1927. Let's zoom in on this thing. I'm Big Pen. All right. Does that look like anything? That's not too bad. This was made when Parker was trying to clean up, as it were. They were trying to dominate the market. All right, this is the part that's not so pretty. You know, they were trying to compete against Schaefer, and they had a big market share, and they were right about a lot. But anyway, this is a student pen. This is not a duofold, which had that super inflexible nib that would last forever, right? That was the whole point. Oh yeah, you can make carbon copies. It's a manifold, meaning you can write through many fold pieces of paper. Well, you know, and they could do the $7 price tag and the guaranteed forever, even though the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, was on their case for that, and everybody else's, frankly, for doing those lifetime warranties. But anyway, this thing has a crazy nib that's really, quite honestly, hard to use. But I love it. I'm actually glad it is, because it forces me to think a bit more and to get into it. Oh, good God. Is that really that bad? All right. That's what it's supposed to look like. Darn you, focus. Anyway, but these pens are amazing, and they're ancient. They're 100 years old, roughly. You know, good God. You know, they're just so elegant. There's a whole approach to making them that is completely missing right now. And I, you know, there's a part of me that really wants to be behind people making new pens. New flexible fountain pens in particular. But it feels like supporting an enterprise which is all about making new horses and buggies. And I've said it a billion times. Part of what I adore about this stuff is that it's so damn old. You know, it's a time that we don't live in anymore. It's a time we can only imagine, right? We have our thoughts. Oh, I wonder what it was like at that time. The styles were so attractive. You know, you had the brocade on everything. Everything was made out of silk or rayon. It was expensive. We had the birth of cheap, but most people didn't go for cheap. We had the birth of credit too, which was deeply problematic. I'm writing on the right side only. You know why? What is that? The verso rather than the recto? I forget. But I do it on purpose because, you know, going over this comb is kind of a pain in the ass. It's a great notebook, the Waterman Three, whatever model this is. Oh god, the 195 I think it is. Is that what it is? Yeah, the 195. But, and it has lines. I know it's kind of annoying. You don't want lines. This is great paper though, and it's got these micro perforations. It's solid stuff. I like this stupid spiral thing because it lies flat. I don't want it to be opening up weirdly. Anyway, so this pen, this is another Waterman's 55. Let me get comfy here. Is that in focus, folks? Is that in focus? Here's your X. Here's your X here. Right? Here's your X, and we're focusing on the X. All right, so we're good. All right. That was, anyway, that was what it was. But this pen is really elegant. It's gorgeous. In fact, you see how that's me. All right, that's not me. It's me. It's not the pen. But this is a great pen. I thought it was so toothy at first. I thought it was way too toothy. I thought... But you know, it's not. It's damn great. It's so elegant. It is very... Here you go. Are you happy, Pierre? I think you're wonderful. I just had to say that because I was so not in my element. Anyway, this is the video that should have been made and wasn't. As crazy and unpredictable and wrong as it is. Anyway, so these pens, I mean, this is too cool, right? They're 100 years old and they're just brilliant. And these Watermans, by the way, at the time, in the teens and 20s, they were made in the town of Seymour, Connecticut. Now, that's significant for a couple of reasons. A few, in fact. Pierre so thoughtfully said to me that he wanted to have a video conversation with me because I see more. Well, there you go. Also, I grew up 2 towns away from that place, my teens, in the first half of the 1980s. Actually, I was a teen through most of the 80s. And, yeah, the rubber capital of the universe. I also wrote the theme for John Dankosky's NPR show, Next New England, and in it there is the sound, he said fading away a bit, of himself signing his name in the theme, mind you, with a roughly 1925 Waterman's 55 in Red Ripple, which I don't have inked up right now. I hate that. Inked, is it? No. It's not. But anyway, it was filled up with ink, okay? In the same way that we don't gas our cars and we don't food ourselves when we're hungry. All right, so what is this thing? And the lighting isn't quite what it should be, so I'll try to give you a little bit of good humor here. Let's just go right up here. Anyway, this is a Waterman's 3 from 1936 or so, which, that's terrible. Let's fix this. That's not too bad if we get that focused. All right. Ordinarily, this is way too new for me. I'm a 20s and teens guy, but I thought this was pretty spectacular. I was like, you know what? This is neat. Look at the pattern, if you can see it here. I mean, it's pretty neat. And I found this in an antique shop in the eastern part of the state, which is crazy because the whole antique or vintage fountain pen thing, it just dried up in the 1980s. I mean, I remember it. You couldn't find these things anywhere. You've got to go to fancy places to find these things. You've got to go online, have friends, work things out. But I found this at an antique shop. The only drawback with it, and it's a big one, and Pierre is absolutely right about this, it has a tiny little crack, a little fissure, which you can't see because it's so small and so tight. And because I'm apparently incompetent when it comes to focusing this pen. But right here, coming out of the breather hole, there's a little tiny crack, and that's got to get fixed. And that can be done pretty reasonably for about $30 or so, a little bit more maybe, with laser welding. So I'm going to do that soon, I promise. But in the meantime, good grief, this is a great little pen. Yeah, that's cool as heck. I like this thing a lot. And it's not doing that weird thing where, like, one tine is kicking out, which is what Pierre was talking about. When you have that break. And a big part of the reason for that is I'm really being careful with it. It's a great pen. It really is. There's a part of me that doesn't even want to fix it, but I know I have to. I really do. Pierre thinks that I'm a fencer in my writing. Well, I'm not. I have much more humanity than that, I promise. I'm not such a jerk. But anyway, I had to share some of this stuff with you guys, and I know it ran along and it's ridiculous, but these things are fantastic, and there's a reason why the whole, I'm going to say hobby, it's not even a hobby, it's better than a hobby. Just using these old pens really mattered and still matters, and what you can do with them and how some old-fashioned advice just holds up. Use the right paper, use the solid ink, get Waterman's or Parker Quink or Schaefer script. It's simple stuff, and you know what? It always works. It never screws up. It doesn't jam up your pen. There's been such a focus in the past 18 years on new weird boutique inks and funky papers and all this bizarre stuff that it has nothing to do with actually using this stuff. It's just like, it's what could be possible under the right conditions after having reinvented the wheel. It's really that. There's too much that's too fun and too reliable and worth exploring with these old devices. Just follow the good wisdom, the old advice, and they won't let you down. Anyway, I love you all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for humoring me. And Pierre, you're fantastic. I know you don't want to hear it, but you're brilliant, and I think you're doing a fabulous job, and everybody should watch your channel. Everybody. Just everybody. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.